Hey man, you ever look into flat Earth?
Okay, I try to edit this and make this a shorter video as possible, but believe me, it is very hard to show everything I want to show and explain everything I want to show in just a short little video. So this part I slowed down. This was a boat way out on the horizon, right after the sun departed our view, and you can obviously see objects out here. This is compression. When a boat is out so far, it's compression, low visibility, atmospheric compression, inferior mirage, atmospheric distortion, and perspective and angular size plays a role in this. Also, I'd like to state that angle of the light reflecting off the water is also playing a part in this. Um, Atmospheric mirroring is also going to play a part in this, and I am going to try to point these things out. And please, please, don't just watch 5 minutes or 2 minutes of this and just throw it away, because my observations really do show some interesting facts, that these are observable facts that should be presented by science, but it's not. It's being totally neglected by science. And, observational proofs, observational science is something that we ought to all be looking at, because it is observable and you can prove it many, many times over. As you see that this boat, as it's coming out of its compression, as it's being, the angular size of it is getting larger because it is coming closer and closer to me. Um, these are the things that, you try to point out to people, that once a boat is out so far, you cannot resolve the angular edge of it. And then you've got this mirroring effect, this light diffraction, light propagating off the water, that actually is what causes some of these mirroring effects. Now, I put this little piece in here to show approximately how high my camera was. I am up on the seawall. My camera's set at 28 inches. The water's down at about 2.5, 3 feet down from the seawall. So I'm approximately 5 feet off the water. It's hard to measure this because I can't measure down the seawall and then measure out to the water, but this gives you a pretty good idea, a pretty good perspective of what I'm viewing and how I'm viewing it. But I thought I'd add this in so people would know approximately the height of my camera. And you can, pretty much see that this boat is really far out there, because it's actually going almost underneath the lowest cross member of that Bayport bird rack. Yes, its antennas are sticking up, or its rigs. I think that's a shrimp boat. Matter of fact, I'm sure it's a shrimp boat. And then I'm going to speed this up a little bit right here. I hate to speed some of this up and cherry pick my videos, but I really think it's important that, when we view stuff, that we really, really view it and pay attention to a lot of the details, because, this boat is so far out there. You say, well, how big are the people that could be on this boat? And I'm going to point that out here shortly, because you can actually see the size of the people on this boat. And you can see that this boat is now visibly in the water completely. You may be getting some blockage from the waves. But check this out right here. You can actually see the people when the camera stops wiggling. You can see the people in the back of that boat moving around. And they're working, of course. You know, they're probably getting their shrimp all out of the net, or, you know, cleaning up the boat, what have you. And one of the things nice about the P1000 is you can turn compensation exposure up and down as you're filming, which is nice, because sometimes it gets dark out there when you're zoomed in, and, you know, you'd like to add a little light to it. So it's nice. And it only works up to a certain point. Once it gets so dark, you cannot see it. But please pay attention to these people on this boat. I mean, you can see them literally moving around on it. And then I pulled this other little piece of footage out of when I went out to the bird rack, Bayport bird rack, and I was filming. And of course, I was actually up higher than I am at this point, at the point of doing that filming. These are two guys on a boat, and you have to say, well, where's the boat? You see them standing there. You see their mirror image underneath them. They're not a mirage. It's just a mirror image underneath them. But you say, well, where's the boat? The boat is hidden within that mirroring effect, that mirror zone. And what it is this is what causes it's a ramped up atmospheric mirror that blocks out everything below. Everything below. I should have put a line across here to show you basically from that visible water up about midway. Everything is being blocked out from that mirroring effect, that ramped up mirroring effect. And this is important that we observe this and we study this. You know, I mean, even that bird going across cracks me up. But, you know, people might think that I'm this stupid flat earther with a damn camera, with a zoom camera. And I study these. I study my footage. I watch it, and I watch it over and over again. And I'm always picking up other little details in here that I see. Now, that is Billy Steele's rack, and that is being compressed. And actually, you can see a little bit of a mirror line. Not only is it being compressed downward, but it's also being stretched horizontally. Because this rack should not really appear that wide. It actually should be a much, the width of it should be much smaller due to the perspective and the distance that it's at. But this is what occurs when you have compression. Things get compressed and then stretched sideways, horizontally. And you can go and look at these effects in like funhouse mirrors. You can make your own mirror with some window film, the mirroring window film, and a piece of plexiglass. It doesn't really stick well to the plexiglass, but you can get it to work. And, you know, I try to show people with my concave convex mirror that these are just effects. You know, I'm not saying that the Earth is concave convex. I'm saying that it's an effect that occurs on a flat surface that causes things to be hidden within their own reflection, just like the two guys on the boat. The boat was hidden within its own reflection, and that ramped up mirroring effect that occurs. And it's hard for me to like edit stuff out when I see it as being important. Like, I mean, you look at those rocks sticking up, they almost look like mountains, and then you look at this boat, and you can still see the people on the back of that boat. Now, here's where this mirroring zone starts, where you can really see it, is right there. You can see that little edge just above the water. And then when I get over here to the Hernando Beach bird rack, this is the one I always thought was Billy Steele's. It was a mistake. I was not lying. It was an honest mistake. I really did think that this was Billy Steele's. Um, but, you know, that's for people to decide. I'm not going to try to tell you that, you know, man, I mean, that kind of hurt me when I made this mistake. But I drew a line through this to show you that everything above that visible water and that bird rack is just a mirror image of the bird rack. And at times, this mirroring effect is starts out much closer to me, and you can almost see the whole mirror image of that bird rack in the water below it. But this is the bird rack, and like I said, this mirroring effect does cause things to get compressed. It also causes things to get stretched, and I'll show you that here shortly with the stretching part. But now I go back toward that boat. I'm going to go back and find that boat because he's fixing to start going through this mirroring zone, this mirrored edge. Yeah, I always like seeing the ducks out there swimming. But again, I'm hoping I get people's attention with this, and you know, I can go into my settings in my YouTube channel and see how long people watch my videos for, and it's kind of depressing that I see them only watching you know, several minutes or a few minutes. Now here's where he starts going through this mirroring effect, or this mirror zone. Now watch what occurs, or what happens to this boat. I mean, obviously you could see the people in it, you could see the whole boat. And as it gets closer to me, which is very strange, but I find that sometimes I can look to the straight out in front of me and get great visibility, and then off to my north and south, I start getting this mirroring effect. Now this boat's in it, and you can kind of see it a little bit, but I'm going to show you where it's more prominent and it stands out a lot more when it starts getting closer and closer to, okay, here we go. It starts to appear to sink. Now, you know, everybody says boats vanish bottom up. Well, this is one of the effects of the mirroring, especially when you got a boat way out on the horizon, and this mirroring zone is just a little sliver, because it's the mirroring effect occurs at, like I said, at different distances. So when you got good visibility, that mirroring effect happens much further out on the horizon, where this is actually occurring at approximately 4 to 5 miles away, where I've caught in boats that are much smaller than these, but much further. I mean, they're much further out on the horizon, but you can actually see the whole boat in the water, where these are up close, and look at this effect that's happening. I mean, this boat is getting drawn down into this mirroring effect, or that ramp up. It's ramping up that mirror. It's like putting a mirror on a little bit of an angle, and that's what cuts off everything below it. Right here, I drew a line. I took a picture, drew a line through it to try to show you exactly where that mirage line, or that mirroring line, is blocking out stuff. Okay, I mean, it's hidden within its own reflection. It's there because you've seen it much further out, where the boat was completely out of the water, and you could obviously see the whole boat. Again, you know, I don't like to cut and pick out my videos, and cut these out, because again, I study them, I look at them, and I've caught in just about every effect under every kind of condition that's out there on the water. And people neglect watching my videos because I do long observational videos. It is called observational science, observable, provable. And if people was to really pay attention, like this rack right here, it's not really that tall. It is being stretched because of its mirror image underneath it. The And even all these little markers are not that tall. They are being mirrored. If they're in that mirroring zone, they are being mirrored. And here I'm gonna turn up some of the lighting and the brightness so I can make things a little bit more easy to see, because that's also an issue when you start getting into these darker areas. You can't see nothing. But look at these islands. I mean, I've caught these islands completely in the water where you can obviously see the water going right up to the bank at 28 inches, sitting at the edge of the water. I mean, my tripod's actually in the water, and I've caught these before. Um, like I said, at a little above 2 feet, where I should not be able to see 2.84 miles out there and see it completely in the water. Now, science wants to tell you it's refraction. Well, light reflects off the water, and that reflecting light is part of the cause of this mirroring effect. Now, you look over there and you look at this boat. This is the boat I was tracking. I mean, you see the rear end part of it, but where is the other part of that boat? It's vanished within its own reflection. It's hiding. Even that sign, you can see its own mirror image underneath it. Um, and this is where, other people that don't study this or don't do observations won't see this. They'll say, oh no, that boat's gone over the curve. Well, how could it go over the curve when it's a much bigger boat and it's actually getting closer to me compared to when it was further out on the horizon and much smaller? and you can actually see the whole boat sitting in the water. And here you can actually see this little red light flashing about in the middle of the screen, a little to the left. That light is actually behind these islands, but I think it's getting the reflection due to its angle on the water that's out in front of these islands or off that atmospheric mirroring. Again, I hope you enjoyed and understood this. I try my best. Thanks for watching, folks.